How did you wind up on the White Shadow back in the day?
One of my high school teammates, Matt Baker, his dad, Dick Baker, was the head coach at Loyola Marymount at one point, and has been an NBA scout for a million years. So back in that time, during the 70s, he was in Hollywood as an he did a lot of work as an extra. Every movie back in the 70s that had basketball in it,
yes,
Dick Baker was like the official, the referee. And
like one-on-one, like Robbie Benson, all of that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's one-on-one.
Okay, fish that ate the fish that saved
just
Pittsburgh.
about. I mean, you name it. I mean, he's in the $6 Million Man, all these different things. So he was a technical consultant for the White Shadow.
Okay.
So in 1978, 79 probably, he got our team on the show as the opposing team of Carver High. And the plot of the particular show was one of the Carver players was transferring to essentially this all-white high school, and he was leaving Carver and transferred to our school, and so we were the players on the opposing team. We were all 16, 17 years old, and had no idea that all of the actors that played the Carver High players were in their 30s. So we were talking to these guys. They're, you know, the director would yell "cut," and then we'd start talking to them. You know, like they went to a crosstown high school. We're like, hey, my mom's picking me up after this. You know, how are you getting home? And the guy's lighting up a cigarette going, get away from me, kid. Like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Did you meet Ken Howard that day? Did you meet him?
Yeah, I met him and you know, Salami and all those guys, Coolidge. They were great. Aside from Coolidge, though, none of them could play dead. Like they were they were actors, so none of them could play. And so they used to do these dolly shots where the gym they played in was on a soundstage. So there was, you know, it was made up. I mean, it's tiny. Yeah. And in order to dunk, they would have to jump, except for Coolidge, they would have to jump off a ramp. Lot of cuts to a shot going through the basket that they didn't necessarily make. It was pretty funny. A lot, in a way, as a 17-year-old kid, very disappointing.
Look at that, number 3 in your program, number 1 in your heart. Look at the Oak Ridge forward right there. Now, you were being berated because you were laughing during the coach tearing your team a new one, correct?
That was the opening of the show. So we're coming into the locker room. We'd just been beaten, I think, and the coach is supposed to yell at me.
Yes.
And so they had inserted our high school into it. So essentially, our high school name had just beaten Oak Ridge. And so he's yelling at another player, and I started laughing, and then he turned it on me. And so it wound up being like it was foreshadowing for playing for Coach K. Because that was basically every post-game speech for the remainder of my career.
So you never laughed at a Coach K during the middle of a Coach K
Not during it.
Right?
I waited till he left the room, and then we started laughing.
Jay Williams told about a time where Coach K's hip went out during a speech or something like that, and he was down on the floor.
He's had a few of those where
said that.
You know, like one time when I was a grad assistant, he wanted to show the team that they weren't going after loose balls like they needed to. So he threw a ball in front of the team in the locker room and then dove on it and wriggled around and you know, growled, and this is what you do. And then when he went back into the coach's locker room, he dropped down on his knees and he's like, you know, he had hurt himself. And because he was 50-some years old. If I did that now, I'd be injured.
You'd say the same thing. Right?
And so, you know, a couple times it'd get away from the thing I laughed at most with Coach K, and he's the best coach and the best guy.
Of course.
Sure. But he had a thing once when I was a player where he gave us the what for about we need to have attention to detail. Like no detail is too small. And we have to be able to tell each other tough things. We have to be tough enough where we hold each other accountable. And if somebody makes a mistake, we correct it. And the guy doesn't get upset about it. He takes the correction and all. You know, accountability and attention to detail. So then he goes and then he says, and now specifically these 3 things we have to clean up. And number 1 on the list was rebound, and he spelled it REBOUB. So Billy King, who later on was the president of the 76ers and the Nets, leaned over to me and says, do you think he wants us to point that out? Like attention to detail, like he's testing us. I go, yeah, you do it. So we didn't say anything.
Right.
the rest of practice, every time a shot went up, we'd go, rebound! And he caught on. He goes, oh, yeah, that's real funny. Very good. Real funny. He didn't care for that one.
Rebound.
Rebound. Duke is not a good rebounding team. That might come out this year in his final year.
It, yes.
Duke is not a good rebounding team.
If they could only rebound better. But I love that Billy thought like that might be like a four-dimensional chess way of Coach K trying to see if you're paying attention.
We were afraid of disappointing him. That not only that we would get the Carver High treatment or the Oak Ridge coach treatment, but that we didn't want to disappoint him. And so if he asked us to do something, we wanted to do it. But we were thinking that way, that is this a test? This is, okay, what do we do here? Do we need to do this?
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.